Welcome back, my friends, for another fun reloading video. It is finally time for a range report. Today we're going to be taking a look at our H335 loads in the 35 Remington. These were using the cast Lee 358-200 round nose projectiles, and we were doing 5-shot groups with H335 starting at 34 grains and working up to 36 grains in half-grain increments. So the weather, it was nice. It was about 50. However, it was raining on and off all day, so my target got a little wet and wrinkly, so we have to stare at that now. But we'll start off here. We started at 34 grains. However, I'm a dummy and didn't have any cider rounds to begin with. So what happened was my first shot is actually right there, if we can see that. Apparently it's right where the staple was, and then it was wet, so I pulled it off and it ripped, but that was my very first shot. And I decided, wow, that's like, a mile high, so maybe I should pick a different target to work with real quick. So instead of taking that first shot way up high and making a scope adjustment, and then I wouldn't be able to tell what my group was actually doing, I made a scope adjustment and started with the next load, because I noticed that I didn't actually have any pressure signs going on. And by next load, I meant I jumped all the way up a whole grain from 34 to 35, and this was shots number 2 through 6. So our 35 grain charge here is just a little, there we go, from center to center, a little under an inch here, and we were at 50 yards today. So a little under an inch with our 35 grain charge. Not too bad of a start. So I notice we're still hitting a little bit high. I go ahead and make the same amount of adjustment downwards with the scope, and then we go back to our starting charge at 34 grains here. And you'll only notice I have 3 bullets here. So one was way high, and then this is the next 3. So that puts me at 4 shots. Where'd the next one go? Well, would you look over here at our 34.5 grain charge? I actually decided that I didn't want to shoot all 5 and went here by accident because I'm a dummy. And this was shot number 5 from our 34 grain charge. So we can omit that when we're checking out our 34.5 grains over here. And we see here from 34 to 34.5, we're starting to tighten up a little bit. We're about at an inch here with our next group, again at 50 yards. And our estimated velocity based on Gordon reloading tool was just under 1,800 feet per second. At 1791. And then again, if we see moving from 34.5 to 35, we shrunk our group down just a little under an inch. And our velocity at 35 grains should be 1,820 feet per second. So now that I'm finally working in the right order, I'm thinking, ooh, baby, we could tighten this up just a little bit more, kick it up a half a grain, and we'll see what happens. And here at our 35.5 grain charge, not only did our group not tighten, but it seemed to have shifted from here-ish all the way up here, and we opened up quite a bit as well. And our estimated velocity on this charge was 18 and 42. And then finally here on our top charge of 36 grains, we're just about over an inch again, and we had another point of impact shift. It came back down and to the right a little bit, and our velocity here jumped all the way up to 1870. And now this is still an entire grain under Hodgdon's book maximum charge, and we weren't quite seeing any pressure signs yet, so I don't know if we're going to try and dial in on one of these charges or keep moving up the ladder here and see where we actually hit some pressure. And speaking of pressure, you'll notice while our primers do have a little bit of cratering, that's across the board with every charge, with every powder I've ever used in this gun before. And so we can see that cratering on 34 grains on your left, 35 in the center, and 36 grains over on the right. They all have this cratering here, but still rounded edges on their primer, and they're not flat at all. So where do we go from here? I'm thinking about just going to that 35 grain charge we had some luck with. Yeah, there we go, this group, something like that. So I'm thinking I might go maybe to like 34.7 or 35.3, and see if we have a shift in point of impact or anything like that. Or just load up 10 of these at 35 and see where those all hit. And then maybe do 10 here as well with our 36 grain charge. And so maybe we can just have a showdown, 35 versus 36 grains, and see how those do with 10 shots each. And maybe we'll try the 10 versus 10 back at 100 yards as well, if the range isn't a swamp and I can actually get back to the targets. We'll see. So there we go, folks. Let me know down below, should we work on 35? Should I go a little lower and a little higher? See if it keeps the same point of impact so I have kind of a range that I can just throw with the hopper. And then should we test maybe another loading of the 36 here, as well as kick them both back to 100 yards? Or should I work up from here to 37 and see where we actually start seeing pressure and see if we can hit that 2,000 feet per second? It might be possible with this barrel length, but I don't want to just push it too hard just to be stupid, just because, especially when we already have what I would consider a decent accuracy node somewhere in here. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. Where should we go from here? Thank you so much for hanging out. I appreciate all you guys spending your time with me. So stay tuned for more. We'll be loading up based on your guys' suggestions. So let me know, and we will see you in the next video. Have a good one.